Welcome to 12 Scholars, a brand new podcast dedicated to personal development. In this first series, we meet 12 inspiring people, all with a bias for being proactive. To learn more about personal development and how you can become more proactive, visit our website and subscribe to our printed journal. In this week's show, we meet Ged King, founder of Skullfades and the Skullfades Foundation.
You know, everybody was talking about how bad it was getting, and I didn't like that. I hated it. In fact, it broke my heart. A pathway to getting off the street. It's a pathway to beating, fighting your addiction. It's a pathway to improving yourself. All these little improvements compound into a big improvement. It's the only way for real and lasting change. Little steps, tiny little steps.
Ged has established himself as a successful entrepreneur with a thriving barbershop. He also runs a charity committed to ending rough sleeping. He's worked not only on improving the homelessness in Manchester, but also Paris and Calais. Ged has appeared on BBC Three's Amazing Humans programme, and earlier this year took to the stage at TEDx Manchester. Ged's own life is one from hardship to success. After leaving the British Army, he retrained as a barber and then found his calling in life. Today, and through his charity, the Skullfades Foundation, Ged works with outside agencies to not only provide sharp haircuts to the homeless, but also offering personal development advice too. Ged is a true role model for others wanting to achieve more and make a real difference. We sat down with Ged to talk about personal development and the value of role models in his life.
Role models are so important. So important. You know, the right role models can literally change your life. I had one very important role model. I started work at 11 years old at a fish and chip shop. And the owner of that business was my first role model. He was amazing. He had a nice car. He had his own business. You know, he was a responsible male role model. At that time, I was going through a lot of trauma, and he spent time with me and helped me see the world in a different light. I never had any strong male role models around me at that time. I had a lot of people around me who were in a lot of pain and surviving and doing the best with what they've got. But this guy, you know, had his life together. It was cool, and he was a cool guy. You know, emotionally he was very calm, and now I'm an adult and I look back on that. I was this young kid who wanted to work and I wanted to improve my own situation, but I was so hurt and damaged. It's interesting for me now, you know, looking back on that, because it makes me respect him so much more for taking the time out to talk to me, because it couldn't have been easy for him. I don't think he'll ever understand how valuable that was for me. That was the first male role model that I had, so he was so important. And if I didn't have him to look up to, if he wasn't my boss so early in life, I think my life could have took a completely different path.
From that path, you then joined the British Army,
yeah,
of which you'd have had lots of role models within the army.
Role models in abundance.
Yeah.
You know, the British Army is amazing. You know, you've got these big strapping guys who are fit and strong and mentally strong, and they've been on tours, and you know, they've fought wars, and they're skilled with the weapon systems and leading people. You know, you've got role models and leaders in the army, which is so important for a lot of young guys who have not had that in their life.
What sort of lessons learned were there from the army?
Well, structure is a massive benefit of joining the army. You know, the army is very, very structured. You get up at this time, you go and do your weapons lessons at this time, you go and do fitness at this time. And structure is so important. I think when you grow up in a chaotic environment, you don't have structure. There's a massive amount of uncertainty. Every day is different, and it's not uncertainty on your terms. You know, it's just everything's uncertain. You don't know. So to have that stability, structure, that certainty of what's going to happen each day was great and refreshing. It's so important to have structure in your life. So structure was the main thing that I noticed. It was astonishing, really. I was like, wow, you know, I actually know how this week's going to go. You know, and we see that with it. You know, these days with the guys we work with on the street, they've got massive amounts of uncertainty. There's no structure in a homeless life, and they don't know where the next meal's coming from. They don't know where the next fix is coming from. They don't know where they're going to sleep at night. So I can relate to that, and you know, I know how that feels.
If we go back a few steps then and think about when you were setting up your barbershop, did you have any realisation of the charitable work that you'd be doing at the time, or was it just to get going and cut people's hair?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I set up my shop, it was a goal that I set when I was 11 years old. You know, we talked earlier about my boss in the chip shop. Because of him, I wanted to be a business owner. But where I was in my life, it was so far away, I couldn't practically see it. So, you know, years and years and years went by. You know, I spent my time in the military and I came out and I looked for different things to do and ups and downs and struggled and this and that. But I did it. You know, I learnt a skill which allowed me to, and became good enough, you know, at that skill, which allowed me to set up a business. And I found myself with this business all these years later. And that's something I'd always wanted. I always wanted to be a business owner, and I was. And I was 1 year in. The first year, I didn't have a day off. You know, I worked round the clock to get that business off the ground. Every single day, you know, I was in there, and I would cut anybody's hair at any time of day or night. You know, we'd be open till 10 o'clock at night some days, because I had no staff. I was on my own, so, you know, I couldn't get it all done in working hours, you know, and people would phone me and I would open up early for them. I'd be there at 6:30 a.m. to cut their hair, you know, and then I'd work till 10 o'clock at night. I worked round the clock. But that got the business going. 1 year later, I had some staff. You know, I had two staff, in fact. I had one full-time barber and I had an apprentice. And that allowed me a couple of days off. I used to have a Sunday and a Monday off. And I expected some kind of fulfillment, some kind of party or celebration at the end. You know, that was the goal that I'd always had, to be a business owner, and I had a successful business, and I was earning decent money. I still had an empty feeling, you know, and I couldn't. I thought, what is this about? And I couldn't see myself just doing this now. I'd done it, you know, cracked it. I've got this business. It's on its own 2 feet. It's earning great money. I'm good at this. I'm good at this job. You know, I couldn't see myself just doing that until I die. You know, that was painful for me, because I thought, you know, I've got here and I'm really proud of my business. I'm proud of myself for doing it. I've achieved this goal. There's got to be more, and I wanted more. So I searched for the answers, and whenever I want answers, I go away. I go to the Lake District quite often. Scotland I love, you know, but I go to somewhere isolated.
Where you can switch off and be at one.
Yeah, and I went to the Western Lakes. I went camping. You know, camping something I'm very good at. I used my army skills to achieve that, and I went away for a few days and I didn't see anybody, just me and my dog. We went walking in the woods, and you know, we went hiking and a bit of canoeing. So, and searched really, and you know, just got quiet, away from the noise, no phone signal, no phone, nothing, and just got quiet. Did some meditation and thought, you know, what am I going to do next? What is, you know, what's missing? What is this empty feeling? At that time in my life, I didn't know about the human needs. You know, I didn't know about contribution. So, you know, I decided that I need some fulfillment. You know, and the way I was going to get that fulfillment was contribution. So that's what I decided. I was going to, and at the time, Manchester was really looking as bad as it is now. You know, I don't know if you remember that shift, you know, years ago when homelessness just really started to become noticeable. You know, everybody was talking about how bad it was getting. And I didn't like that. I hated it. In fact, it broke my heart. I'm a very proud Mancunian, and I love Manchester. You know, to see that happen, to see your city take a downward spiral in that area was painful, really. So it was obvious to me at the time that I could do something about it. You know, I could help in my own way. You know, and especially then I didn't think, you know, we could do anything big. I just thought, I just want to do my bit. And I'd seen a video of an old retired barber in America, you know, years before, and he would, he's a retired man, and he would give back once a week to the homeless community and go out and cut their hair. And I just thought that was amazing. And I knew I was going to do that. After watching that video, I thought, you know, that's what I'm going to do. But with this trip to the lakes, it just gave me that clarity. And I thought, now's the time, that's it, I'm going to do that. So we dipped our toe in at first, you know, we didn't go straight out onto the streets. And we put an advert out on our social media, if you are homeless, or in fact, if you're unemployed and you've got yourself a job interview, you can come in and get yourself tidied up for free. You can access our services free of charge. So we had guys who said, "I've got a job interview here. Can you tidy me up?" And some of those guys are still our clients. You know, they're having a.
So that's how you got started, then.
That's how we got started.
You know. So going on to the work that you do with rough sleeping and the charity work, how would you best describe the Skullfades Foundation?
The Skullfades Foundation if you want it, is a pathway to getting off the street. It's a pathway to fighting your addiction. It's a pathway to improving yourself. It's a pathway to all different kinds of material that we can give you.
You mentioned there, if you want it.
If you want it.
So you've got to be proactive. You've got to be kind of searching for something.
It's very difficult to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Everybody's got their time. A lot of the guys we work with, just in this life, and it's chaotic, and it gets on top of them, and you don't believe that they want anybody's help. And when they feel like that, you can't help anyone. But when somebody's ready and when somebody wants it, we've got some tools for you. We can help you in many ways. We're connected up to all the different charities. We can refer you to different things. We can make personal phone calls to a person in a specific charity to help you.
So you've got the contacts, you've got the network there within the foundation.
Yeah, information's key for us. We all the members of my team educate themselves on what's going on in the charity world. Who's providing what service, what meals are available at what time, where can you get into a bed every night, who can you speak to about a drug program. So that's very, very useful information. If somebody becomes homeless and you find yourself there, you don't know all these things. So we make it our business to educate ourselves so we can be more valuable to the guys on the street. So it's not just a haircut and providing some warm kit and some food. We've actually got information in abundance.
So you're very much like a band of brothers and sisters on the streets of Manchester, helping the homeless getting back on with life.
Yeah, it's useful outreach. Yeah. Outreach work it can be criticised. Some charities would criticise it because there's a theory that you give people what they need to live on the street. It doesn't encourage them to engage with the services and get themselves off the street, which I can see the logic in that. But I think we go a bit further than that. We're not just giving someone a sleeping bag and a haircut and some food. We really try to give people the information they need to engage once they feel better. And that's key. Once we've given this haircut and cleaned them up and allowed our team to affect each person in a positive way, we put them into a good state and then give them the information that they need. And we find that's most effective. I don't know of an outreach service in the country that does that. So I'm very proud of that. It's a unique style of work, and it's a unique way of operating. And it's different each time we go out. We have a chiropodist join us from time to time. We have a couple of different doctors who specialise in different fields who come out when they've got the time. Each time we do a street cuts, it's who's available. Who have we got? We have a vet that's come out and helped us, help the dogs on the street. So whoever's available will come out and the team changes, and I like that, and we find that whoever is available, there's somebody there that needs that person. So it's funny how it all works. It just tends to be the right person that comes out, and we meet the right person that needs the right help. So it's amazing how that works out every single street cuts.
And how often do you do these street cuts?
Once a month in Manchester. Once a month as a team. I will get out as much as I possibly can. But when I go out on my own, it's different. I will go into hostels. I will go into squats. I will go into places that we won't go as a team. Slightly more dangerous situations sometimes. But I've got to be very mindful when I've got the team. We've got to be careful. It's a dangerous world, the homeless world, especially with some of these squats and some of the more isolated places off the beaten track. So we've got to be careful. But I've got a lot of experience, and the homeless community know me. And I know them, so I imagine you'd see familiar faces as you're going around? Of course, yeah. Sometimes we don't see that person again, and that's great, because I love it when I don't see somebody twice. If we give them the information they need and they go off and they get that information and they get into a bed every night or whichever path they decide to go down, it's amazing when you don't see that person again, because that's just to me, we've got off the street. And if we can follow that up, I've met people on the street and then seen them in a hostel after we've given them the information. And then I've watched them go from the hostel into their own flat. Oh, that's got to be a good feeling. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. That's what you do it for. That's what keeps you going, because homelessness is so complex. There are a million reasons why people are on the street, and every case is different, and every person you meet is different. Some people don't want to get off the street, and that's a fact. Some people are so, the term is, I hate the term, but it's entrenched. So entrenched in that life. They don't want anybody's help. They're happy with the way they're living. They think they're happy with the way they're living. And that's where volunteers and people who work with homeless people can get disheartened. But I focus on the cases that work.
How would you describe your mission or the purpose of Skullfades?
So the ethos is contribute to create change. That's what we do. We're a small barbershop, and we contribute on a big scale. People don't have to contribute as on the same level as us, but some contribution I think is necessary for a business. As business owners, we are powerful in our communities and in society, and we can all contribute to create the change that we want to see in any area.
We're not just talking about homelessness now.
No, not at all. Businesses have power to help in many different ways, and if you want to help people who look after people with disabilities, if you want to help people look after the elderly, if you want to change racism, if you want to change anything, one avenue we're going to go down soon is modern day slavery. We're becoming increasingly involved in that, and that's something that we want to help change and contribute towards helping that. So many organisations are doing such a good job in all different areas, and they need help. Charities need help.
And just by talking about it will help to start off with. Of
course. Yeah, we talk about it and then we offer what our business has got to offer. A friend of mine, he makes and sells mattresses. He's just decided to donate every third mattress. It might be every fifth mattress, but that's how his business is going to contribute to create change. So he's going to donate these mattresses that he makes to hostels. So people coming off the street get to use these mattresses. That is what we're all about. I mean, I don't like to think of Skullfades as another charity. It's the Skullfades Foundation is strongly linked to the business Skullfades Barbershop, and they forever will be. I believe it's a new way to do charity. You have your business, but set something up to give back, and entwine them. So my business works with my charity all the time. They're always helping each other, and it's just positive.
One of the ways you work with the homeless is through coaching and personal development. Perhaps you could talk to us about the 6 human needs model and how you go about using it.
Every human being on the planet has these 6 needs. These are needs for happiness and fulfillment. Now, the first need is certainty. We all need a certain level of certainty in our lives. If the human needs aren't fulfilled, it creates negative emotions. If they're fulfilled, it creates positive emotions. The second human need conflicts the first, because the universe has got a sense of humour. So it gives us as human beings conflicting needs, and that's uncertainty or variety. You can put different words on any of these needs, but they come back to the same thing. So if we get too much certainty in our lives, if we know what's going to happen every single day, at every time, this time you're going to have that time you're going to have that, too much certainty, we get bored. So we need some variety, we need some uncertainty. The next one is significance. We all need to feel significant on some level. Everybody's had the boss that is above you, and he tells you what to do, and he speaks to you like you're worthless because he's above you. Now he's choosing a negative vehicle to gain significance. Yeah. The best vehicle is, a positive vehicle is being the best in the world at what you do. We see that with the world's best boxers or the world's best football players. The next one is love and connection. Now, most people settle for connection, unfortunately, because love scares them. We as human beings learn at a young age that love equals pain. Usually a grandparent dies, or in extreme cases a parent will die, or it might be when you get into a first bad relationship, and that love equals pain. So people most people are unfulfilled in their relationships today because they don't fulfill that need properly. Real love, wholehearted love for that person you're with. That's what we all deserve, and that's what we all should give. But too many people settle for connection because it scares them. So love and connection is the next need. And people will get connection in many ways. They'll go dancing, or they'll go to a football club and watch the football. They're getting connection all the time. We support Man United, or we support Arsenal, or whatever. You can get the first 4 right and be fairly happy, but true happiness and true fulfillment lies in the last 2. And the 5th human need is growth. There are very few plateaus in life. We're either climbing or sliding. You can apply these needs to business, to finances, to spiritual growth, to your relationships, and you can use these needs in each area. So growth, if my business is earning more money than it was last year, I've got positive emotions. If my business is earning less money, I get negative emotions. What's gone wrong? Why? Who's not doing the job right? So growth, we need, we need it in relationships. If you're growing with your partner, it's a beautiful feeling. You're both growing together. If you're not, it creates negative emotions and you start to pick at each other. So growth is the fifth human need. And the last one, key to it all, the last two are entwined as well. The reason we've got to grow is so we've got something to give. If we don't grow, we've got nothing to give. You can't give what you haven't got, right? So growth is entwined with the last human need, which is contribution. We all need to contribute on some level. For somebody like myself, I want to contribute on a big scale because I'm driven by contribution. People generally are driven by two or three of the human needs. So contribution is the last one, and like I say, I'm driven by that. So I want to contribute on a huge scale. What I'm doing now isn't enough for me. I want to do more and more and more and more. So those are the human needs, and we can apply them to every area of our lives. I do an exercise with the guys on the street which looks at the life they're living and looks at the life that they want. And we score the human needs, what they get. What does this life score? What does that life score? When we get these guys into a beautiful state, a good state, a happy state, an excited state, they can start to go for that life. We use all this knowledge in conjunction with our skill as barbers to help people take the right path. And all this stuff I put into the haircut. And it's amazing the reactions that you get when you sit down and go through these human needs with them. The last one I did was with a couple who came to my shop, and we did this diagram that I do with the guys. And the reaction from those two, it was a new one for me because I did a joint diagram, But we went through all the human needs. How much certainty did you get on the street? How much uncertainty did you get on the street? How significant do you feel on the street? How much love and connection do you get? How much are you growing? And how much do you contribute with this life? I know they scored very, very low, and that score equaled misery, unhappiness, negative life. And we asked the guys to fast forward 5 years and visualise that person. This is very important because you get them to visualise their future self, and you get them to see themselves. And like when I encourage that, because the first reaction is, I'm not sure. You say, no, come on, the life that you want, the person you want to be, who is that person? What are they doing now? And specifics, how much money have they got in the bank account? How often are they seeing the family?
Try and make it as real as you can.
As real as you can. And you start to see them change and the smile appears and they're kind of falling in love with this future person. And that's that. They create this valuable picture in their mind of their future self. So then we go through the human needs. How much certainty has this person got? How much uncertainty has this person got? And so on. How much love and connection has this person got? And that always goes off the scale, because they see the self having love and connection all around them, which is what we all want. So we offer this image, and then that gets scored, and that equals a successful, happy, fulfilled life for them, whatever that means to them. Then we give them the tools. The next sheet of paper is the obstacles. We create the obstacles of the obstacles that are in the way, and whether it's drug use or repeated behaviour, alcohol, whatever it is. So we do it in kind of a bubble diagram. This is where you are now. That person in the future 5 years, all the obstacles that are in the way. And on the last piece of paper, we write down if they can do something about that or not. And every time it's yes. There are very, very little things that we can't do something about. Maybe a monsoon happens, you can't do much about that. But we don't get many of them in Manchester, luckily. We kind of have an all year round equivalent of a monsoon. But yeah, so there's always something they can do. And then the next box is what? What can you do? And they go away with a list, a whole list of instructions for their own life. And this has come from them. They're telling themselves what to do.
And these are basic practical steps that they can improve their own lives.
Yeah. And a lot of the time when you look at, there are a lot of things on these lists sometimes for somebody who's homeless. But that's where the philosophy of CANI comes in. Now, the philosophy of CANI stands for constant and never-ending improvements. So that's abbreviated to CANI. So if they use that philosophy, I generally tell them to pick one thing, depending on the person. Usually one thing's enough. Just one thing each day, just one thing, that's it. And we can all use that. For some people, it's just the way you say hello, the way you say thank you. And all these little improvements compound into a big improvement. It's the only way for real and lasting change. Little steps, tiny little steps. Using the philosophy of Kenai, we improve this, then we improve this, then we improve this. Because it's too overwhelming for a human being to go from this person to that person. Yeah. We're not caterpillars, but we can do what a caterpillar does if we use the philosophy of Kenai and we take our time, little bits, little tiny bits. You don't get overwhelmed, and you look back in a year and you can't recognise that person. Yeah. You look back in 2 years, who is that?
What's the best way our listeners can help support the Skullfades Foundation?
Buy a hoodie and wear it for us. That will financially support us, because every hoodie that we buy, the profits go to the charity, and wear it. And when people ask what it is and what it's about, tell them. That's the most simple way for people to support us at the moment.
So thank you very much for being with us today. What's the best way we can find out more about the foundation?
So you can follow us on social media. At the moment, our website is massively out of date. I'm a doer. I'm always practically doing something. I'm either out on the street or I'm working in my shop, or we're doing something. If you really want to keep up to date with what we're doing, the videos and the pictures are on Facebook. And we're about to revamp the website, so that will bring all that up to date. But it's a little bit out of date at the minute.
Well, Ged, thanks very much, and wish you all the success for the foundation.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thanks very much.
That was Ged King, one of those people who's really making a difference. In this episode, we learned how Ged contributes to creating change. He talked about the 6 human needs, a model popularised by Tony Robbins. We learned that following the 6 needs can lead to a more successful and fulfilling life. Ged also mentioned Kenai, a system for continuous and never-ending improvement. His advice is to focus on one thing and make it better every day. To help support the Skullfades Foundation, visit their website and treat yourself or a friend to a hoodie. We'll include a link in the show notes. That was a 12 Scholars podcast. To find out more, visit our website and subscribe to the printed journal at 12scholars.com.